Hey, buddy.
Senor, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
It was obviously an enormous plum, I think, for our series to get you doing the music for it and scoring it. And I guess one of the places for us to begin is maybe you could speak towards what in the material spoke to you and how that guided your musical creation.
Well, the first thing, 4 scripts came at once, which was about, I don't know, 300 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
I read them and it was like a book. I had to know what happened, so I had to get the next 4 scripts. Like, it was extraordinary to read a script that had long speeches in it. It read like a novel, and it also read like a movie, except it was a television show. It was a very interesting...
It read like neither of the things it was supposed to be.
And the next interesting step was talking to you guys, and you guys saying you didn't want to do a typical Louisiana Cajun music score or, you know, sound, because, and that would not have been nearly as intriguing as the idea of creating an alternate reality where it's not a kind of Louisiana we've heard before. So all this stuff tends to come from Louisiana, but from sideways, you know.
Yeah, it seems to me it comes more from the psychology of the place rather than its exact musical history. And that's exactly what we were hoping for. I find so many times in the actual episodes, the emotional communication that's happening between characters is enhanced by a very subtle score behind things. And I don't think many people have gotten to see that from you.
I had my time where I wondered if this was all in my head. That time passed.
Really?
What happened to Billy Lee Tuttle? It's something you're gonna have to look at. No other way around it.
It's interesting that you bring up the idea of a sort of Louisiana of the mind, right?
Right.
As opposed to the historical musical scene of Louisiana, which none of us wanted to do.
Right.
And that can bring up, you know, this idea of anachronisms and things like that. And like, I think I read some comment somewhere that, you know, struck me as completely ridiculous that KRS-One would not be playing in a South Louisiana strip club.
Cocaine business controls America. Ganja business controls America. KRS.
For a man who was in Louisiana in 1995 and worked at a strip club, there's no political statement behind the music that plays for girls to dance to at strip clubs. But that's the kind of comment that I wonder if you have anything to say to that.
Of course, it's completely plausible that the DJ in Louisiana in 1995 would have heard illegal business. But more than that, it was the right song to play in that scene. We tried a lot of songs to play in that scene.
I remember.
And when that one went in there, everyone said, oh, there it is.
Yep.
It showed up. It's appropriate for True Detective in 2014 and the story we're telling.
He's conflict-oriented, so when I deny him small arguments, it builds up his energy.
Wow. Yeah. Are you ever a match for this dude?
I've read some interesting commentary about this show from the point of view of some women. There's a test about the way women are treated. They have to relate to each other. I can't remember the name of the test, but it's an interesting test. Anyway, I thought you should be given the chance to represent how you actually feel about women.
Well, you know, I think if that's a deficiency in the show, I can only say that deficiency is inherent in its form. Because the form of this show is a close point of view, right?
They're two
so you have
guys.
2 points of view, and it's Russ Cole's point of view or Martin Hart's point of view, and that's it. We don't go into other characters' points of view. We don't go into Maggie's point of view if she's not with Cole or Hart.
That's right.
And now, if you can find me a male character who's treated with great depth and intelligence and given his due,
Right.
who's not Hart and Cole, let me know.
It's my bad, boys. Maybe we got started on the wrong foot there.
To me, these men are heroes. These men are real men that do bad things and do the best they can, and they're living by their own codes as best they can. But the thing they do, they confront outrageous evil head on, face to face. They look right into the skull of the most hideous evil imaginable and deal with it. That's heroic.
To me, Cole more than Hart, but both of them are heroic.
Right.
And now both of them are incredibly flawed as men in society, right? Like Hart might be a bad husband and father. Cole might be a terrible friend and colleague in some respects. But they both behave with bravery and with honor
Yeah.
in moments where many of us might not.
Wires back there. Clearing's probably mine. All right. How you gonna do it? You go back, call it in. I'll wait here. Do it now, Marty. You ain't doing this without me.
One of the neat things about episode 5 to me is that Cole, up to that point, has been the guy who has represented a black and white morality. But in episode 5, it's Hart, the man who has offered nothing but gray areas of morality, who administers absolute justice to Reggie Ledoux
Correct.
by executing him. Boom. Now, it's an interesting thing to me that through episode 4 and episode 5, in none of the action scenes does Cole fire a gun.
Right.
Even though he's supposed to be the most dangerous man in the scripts, and he is.
Yeah. Right.
He only fires a gun when all the danger's passed and he's unloading that AK. For me, he's what Huck Finn becomes in the 21st century. You know? You remember Huckleberry Finn when he could free slave Jim, but everything he's been taught tells him that if I free this man, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn in hell forever.
Yeah.
And Huck Finn frees his friend, the slave, and Huck says, basically, fuck it, I'll go to hell.
Yeah.
And that's Rust.
You wonder ever you're a bad man?
No, I don't wonder, Marty.
You ever wonder if you're a bad man? No, I don't wonder.
Yeah.
You know, not saying like, no, I don't think I'm a bad man. No, I don't wonder about
I
it.
know I'm
I'm a bad man.
Yeah.
But I'm better than the other bad men.
Yeah. I didn't rip
At least
anybody's
I'm on-
face off.
I'm on this side of the line.
Right.
And the other bad men are on that side of the line.
No, he's a good man. Actually, he's a good bad man.
World needs bad men. We keep the other bad men from the door.
They are, despite their sins, incorruptible.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, I wouldn't go into that house where that woman was, that sister, half sister. I would not go in there.
You think I'd walk in that maze full of twig
No,
sculptures?
I wouldn't
with
go in there, man.
No.
So, we can all sit back anonymously and throw rocks and say, oh, yeah, they're not heroes. We have to deal with the reality of who these guys,
I even heard something that, like, they were bad cops because they're not solving this as fast as the Mentalist or somebody would solve it, And I'm like...
Well, you're supposed to solve it in an episode.
Yeah, I was like, what do you guys think the Louisiana State Police is... do you think, this is 1995, you think they've seen Seven? You think they've watched CSI? You think CSI is real?
Marty. This is the place.
The ending of the show, more than anything for me, is about catharsis. We've
Yes.
taken you on this 8 hours, and I want you to experience, as an audience, a release
Yes.
of everything. How did you interpret that release?
These two guys that I really loved both of these guys. And seeing the kind of gauntlet they were willing to run, the kind of hell they were really willing to run into to find that catharsis, to reach that catharsis. And there was no other way they were going to get there than to stare straight into the skull.
We left something undone. We gotta fix it. Man remembers his debts.
And that, to me, is a heroic moment, that they decided they had a debt,
Right.
and they didn't flinch from that debt.
There was a moment, I know, when I was under in the darkness, something I could feel, man. And I knew my daughter waited for me there. So clear. I could feel her. And all I had to do was let go. And I did.
He moves about 5 inches on the
Right.
personality meter, right? But where he moves to is a place where, for the first time, he's allowed to grieve.
Then I woke up.
When you see Matthew kill that scene with his tears and
Yeah.
his raw emotion, Think about the last time Russ Cole cried, if ever.
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 Right.
Right. This is a man who's probably been waiting his whole life to cry.
I tell you, Marty, I've been up in that room looking out those windows every night here, just thinking, it's just one story. The oldest.
What's that?
Light versus dark.
Appears to me that the dark has a lot more territory.
In that final metaphor, it's an earnest urge to merge the secular with the sacred.
Yeah, I hear that.
And, you know, there was darkness, and the Lord said unto the darkness, let there be light. Is someone struggling, not even struggling, just wondering?
Yeah.
Is there some kind of metaphor that takes it all in?
Yeah.
Well, what's the story about it? It's very basal level, light versus dark. And then when you consider, well, wait a minute, once upon a time it was all a void. And now there's lights exploding everywhere.
Yeah.
It's almost full, you know, and they just keep coming, these stars, they just keep
Right.
coming.
You know, you're looking at her on the sky thing.
How's that?
Well, once there was only dark. Let me ask, any lights winning?
I did want to touch on that though, because I wasn't sure it'd make sense to a lot of people, and it might not.
Well, it's a beautiful part of the fabric of the whole play.
Thank you.
And you know, I must say, since we're here at the end, it's so beautiful that it ends like a novel. You know, there's no feeling in the world like getting to the end of a good book when the writer just nails it for you and wraps it up, and you read the last few words.
Oh,
and,
thanks.
And this does that. One of the problems of serialized storytelling on television is you do a series and you have a first act, a second act, and a third act, and then if the series gets picked back up, the third act goes on.
We don't have a third act. You have a second act that goes on interminably.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to people being able to sit down and watch it over a weekend, you know, because it actually does have a true ending.
Thanks. I'd really like to talk to you about the final song that ends the series because it's an original T-Bone Burnett song. And as a writer and a poet, I thought the lyrics were incredibly beautiful.
The emptiness that we confess in the dimmest hour of day. In a town, they make us sound like the low, sad moan of brave.
Growing out of our discussions of the show and the country and the story we were telling, this song suddenly appeared. And then this music grew out of the score, really, this theme, the main theme of True Detective. That it grew out of that and this psychosphere theme that we had sort of merged into the Angry River. Have you ever heard this phrase before?
I haven't, and I thought it was one of the most perfect Gothic expressions I'd heard.
That's
an
what I
Angry
thought.
River.
Well, I think there was a children's book, but when I heard the phrase Angry River, it's been something completely different to me.
Yeah.
And it certainly has meaning when you put it into this play and into Louisiana. And
Well, I thought it was an American classic.
as far as the music goes, it has very much been a collaboration among all of us, but with you and Matthew, too.
Matthew suggested a lot of good music.
Yeah, he really did.
And you know from my scripts, I called a ton of music, but
Yeah.
it was never meant to be like you have to use this.
But it was great, so we
Well,
did.
I just knew we were speaking the same language.
There was a
because-
reason that song's there. and-
Yeah, and like it doesn't need to be this song, but there's something this song does that you can tap into.
That's right.
Right.
But so much of it I was just thrilled with. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is your music is one of the main leads of the show, and I consider it as essential a part of the vocabulary of True Detective as my writing at least. So thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
You're the greatest. Thank you, Sport.
Thank you.